Hello and welcome to the Hoop Troop podcast. I am Matt O'Connor, and joining me as they will on all of our episodes are my cousin Luke Drobner.
What's up?
And my brother Mike O'Connor.
What is happening?
And we are officially through all of the 88 seeding games the NBA set out on for the Orlando restart. We're about to start some playoffs. Guys, what are your thoughts so far on everything that's happened and kind of looking forward? Sounds like we're going to have some fun playing games and some good playoff matchups.
Luke, I'm curious about what you're what you thought about the restart and everything and how it's played out so far.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. When the game started up again, I was really excited to watch. So it's pretty much all I was doing. I was watching every game.
Yeah.
But, as it went on, some of the storylines started to shake out a little better. The race for 8 in the West was pretty crazy. The Suns going to 8-0 was huge. Devin Booker played out of his mind. And it's unfortunate that the Grizzlies won their last game against a Giannis-less Bucks, and were able to eliminate the Suns. But yeah, people could say that Giannis is a huge Grizzlies fan and headbutted Mo Wagner on purpose. But it was interesting to see how everything right, and they still missed the playoffs. That while the system was a good system with all this play and stuff and whatnot, it wasn't a perfect system, right? So,
well, I think the Suns had no business really getting invited in the first place. It was just they did it so that way they could invite one Eastern Conference team in the Wizards that wasn't in the top 8. But it just goes to show that so much can happen in a short span of time. And it's a shame that the Suns weren't able to win more games back when the season was actually taking place in the winter. Because they proved that they are able to compete. And obviously they wouldn't have won anything. They weren't going to go win the finals. But they beat great teams to get to this point and go 8-0. And yeah, some teams probably didn't try as hard in some games because they were situationally set up. But it was fun to watch. I really was so locked in. And we're recording this on Friday now after all the games have taken place. But Thursday, every single one of those games mattered for the race for 8th. And kind of like you said, Luke, it was so much fun to watch those games, watching Portland, the Spurs, the Grizzlies, the Suns, not so much the Pelicans and the Kings. But it was really, for me, I loved watching it. But I think there are two major things to come out of it. And we talked about the Suns being one of them. The other is that, unfortunately, Greg Popovich's and the Spurs' 22-year streak of making the playoffs comes to an end, which I got to say, that is sad, and it is going to be very weird watching playoff basketball and there not being at least one Spurs series. But I didn't overly want to watch that team play the Lakers. They weren't as fun.
And maybe I'm wrong. I just saw it on the screen when the Spurs were playing. Has he only lost 66 times?
No.
In the time span that he's played? I'm pretty sure I saw it was 1,066 or something.
No way. Because think about it. Even if he wins,
and then it might have been over maybe his playoff time or something like that. The record was staggering, and it just made me take a step back for a second and recognize that Popovich is probably the best NBA basketball coach that there's ever been. I mean, you can make the Jackson
one of the best.
You can make the Jackson
2, 3.
Jackson's overrated. I've said it before on this podcast. I'll say it again.
So I thought that was a cool part of yesterday when the Spurs game didn't matter in the end. It was just an admiration of what the Spurs have accomplished, and I thought that was kind of cool.
It also marks the end of an era, right? And we said 22 years into making the playoffs. That's insane, right? Our whole lives. I'm 23 years old. This is the first year of my entire life the Spurs will not be in the playoffs.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's just so weird to think of. And you think of teams that have down years, whatever, you miss the playoffs here or there, someone gets hurt. No, to do this consistently is amazing.
Insane.
And it's, obviously everyone wants to give Popovich all the praise, but between the players, the front office, it's such a well-run organization. And especially to do that in a small market is even more impressive.
It starts with the culture. It starts with the culture, right? The culture they built there, and we've talked about it before, is similar to the culture that they're kind of generating in places like Toronto. So, I mean, there's just good basketball culture and there's bad basketball culture. I don't mean to pick on you guys, but there are teams like the Knicks who literally just can never figure it out no matter what. So,
it's a blatant trashing of my team. But yes, I agree that they are a dumb. If you think about it, the last 20 years, you look at the Knicks, the losingest team, compared to what the Spurs have done in 22 years, like it is amazing. Because when you think about it, they played each other in the finals in '99. So it is funny. You look at what has happened with those two franchises, just the staggering difference of, good leadership can be.
The owner. So and also think about like the difference in face value of those franchises. The Knicks are worth like 3.2 billion.
More, I think, honestly.
I'm not really sure.
Closer to 5, yeah.
But the Spurs are definitely not worth that much. But it goes to show like how important the Spurs were for the late '90s, early 2010s, how important they were. And they had great players like Tim Duncan's one of the best players of all time. Monty Ginobili, Tony Parker, the list goes on, and like it's just sad to see it all go.
I will say though, as sad as it is to see them go, I'm really glad Portland got in, because now I think the Grizzlies would have been a team that I could see not play in this game. Like I don't need them to be there. They have a lot of injuries. They're probably not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who don't know, the play-in tournament, the way it works is it's the 8 and the 9. It is a single elimination for the 9 or a double elimination for the 8. So Portland would have to lose twice. The Grizzlies would have to lose once. And whoever wins the 8 will ultimately play the Lakers. I am intrigued after having seen what this restart has looked like and what these players, like specifically on these teams, have looked like. Do you think that there's a shot that this goes 2 games, or B, a shot that the Grizzlies come out of this?
Go for it.
So I think it's kind of funny to look back at the pod from maybe a month ago where we were all kind of predicting the Blazers would take the 8 seed. I think we all said the 8 seed, not even just that they'd be in the play-in. Spot on. They look so good. Lillard looks amazing. I think this will go 1 game. I think it'll be over tomorrow. I think they're going to beat the Grizz. And I don't think – are we going past the play-in? I don't think they'll beat the Lakers. I think it'll be –
You're getting ahead of yourself.
I am. But I think tomorrow will just go 1 game. And I hope it'll just be an entertaining Ja versus Lillard matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And Luke, you're itching to say something. I see your face. What were you about to say?
Yeah, Mike's saying that they're not going to beat the Lakers. I don't think they're going to beat the Lakers, but like if you think about the Western Conference matchups now, like no one's getting an easy first round.
No.
And the Blazers, yeah, they're the 8 seed, but like, are they really the 8th best team in the West? I think they're better than the Mavericks, especially at full strength. Totally. And who's at 6 right now? Utah,
I think they're better than
crappy Utah,
and even OKC. I think,
and the Rockets.
Yeah, they could be
easily beat the Rockets.
Yeah.
They already, Portland is that good. That said, I don't want to totally overlook the Grizzlies, because even though they were playing like a diminished Bucks team, they shot the lights out yesterday. If they get hot, it stands to reason you could win 2 games in a row, even against Damian Lillard, who is willing this team into the playoffs. Like, it is absolutely possible. And so, do I have that much faith? No. Like, I like Ja Morant, but he's not shooting well from the 3-point line. Teams are realizing that. And then on top of that, you don't have your second best player in Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't know how you go ahead and defend the perimeter as well as you would like against this team. They've shown time and time again in this restart that Dame, CJ, Gary Trent, Melo are pretty unstoppable out there on the 3-point line. And then you factor in Nurkic and Whiteside coming in. They're probably going to be able to take care of Valanciunas. I don't think it goes past 1 game, but who knows?
I just think it's very interesting to also note in the bubble, Portland's number 1 offensive rating, but they're number 21 out of the 22 teams in defensive rating. I mean, we saw it last night with the Nets. It was a shootout. They weren't stopping anything, but they were just outscored. So that's where I think they'll be fine against the Grizzlies, but it could be a close game. I think you'll get a close game.
I think if we look at the Blazers, if you really think about it, like when Jason Tatum was going off against them and like their second game against the Celtics, they put Damian Lillard on Jason Tatum to try and stop him. And Damian Lillard did a good job, but like, do you really want to be saying that? Like, here's my 6'2" point guard who is known for taking 35-foot bombs, and he's trying to shut down a 6'8" wing. Like, that's not something you want, right? Like, CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard aren't going to get it done for you on the defensive end. And Gary Trent Jr. is still young and hasn't proven anything. And I'm sorry to say this as well, but Melo's a little older, and I'm not so sure if Melo's going to be keeping up with Jason Tatum, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I don't think he's going to be keeping up with those guys. So,
but that's the thing. Right now, in this play-in specifically, he's just gonna have to keep up with I'm honestly looking at the Grizzlies roster. I guess
Dylan Brooks,
Brandon Clark,
Kyle Anderson.
Because Brooks is playing the 2. Anderson, you don't have.
Who they start last game?
That's a very good question. I don't have that in front of me, but I just think looking at this roster without them having Jaren Jackson Jr. playing the 4, there's no one that I'm that afraid of. And honestly, even turning that the other way, who the hell is going to guard Noah?
But I'm not even concerned with Jaren Jackson Jr. at power forward, because if I'm the Blazers, I'm starting Dame, CJ, whoever I want at 3, Melo or Trent, and then I have Zach Collins, who would be a great matchup against Jaren Jackson Jr. I have essentially a 7-foot power forward who's a little bit more mobile than most other power forwards and can step out and shoot and stuff like that. I think they have a good matchup there. But so the Grizzlies started Tolliver at power forward, Kyle Anderson at small forward.
I think that speaks for itself. I mean, I really do. I think that makes the case of why they're probably not going to be the team to win 2 games in a row against a scorching hot Damian Lillard and a pretty consistent supporting cast on the Blazers. I just can't see it. I really don't. I don't think it goes past a game. I don't even think it'll be close. I think it's a blowout. I think Dame takes care of this thing early. They're up by 10, 15 the whole game. Honestly.
No, I think it's going to be a close game. I think this Grizzlies team, even without Jaren Jackson, is slightly better than the Nets team the Blazers played yesterday and let up 133 points to. So
I guess. Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I think the Grizzlies will hang in there, but I don't think Damian Lillard will let them win.
And even if they do, say something goes wrong, they hit the last shot, whatever, they're not winning 2 in a row against this Blazers team. There's just no way.
This is all Pat Beverly's fault, I think. he pissed Damian Lillard off. So
I know.
I mean, I think after that whole thing, Damian Lillard started coming out and saying stuff, and I thought the way Damian Lillard was talking about it was really interesting, because Dame was like, Pat Bev and Paul George, they've been harassing me all over the internet and in person and things like that, and it's hurtful that they want to make fun of me. I failed my team, blah, 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 but at the same time, I see it as like a sign of respect. Both these guys know I can send them home, and that's why they're making such a big deal out of it, because they know how good I am. And I think that's really interesting from Damian Lillard. This isn't putting him down. It's fueling him. He's I am that good. And these guys are recognizing it.
And so I think that's interesting, because you're talking about how he's going out there and proving it. And he did. He went off for 51, 61, and I think 43 last night or something against the Nets.
Crazy.
In a row. 3 straight games, 3 straight wins, got them the 8th seed. I think this is a good segue, because I would imagine in looking at what will be the all bubble awards for the first team all bubble MVP and coach. I want to transition here and take a look at who you guys think should make this all bubble team after the 88 games. Obviously Lillard is a candidate, to say the least. He definitely makes my team, but if we could do 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center, who would you guys think so far has proven worthy of making this first team all bubble Disney Orlando glory?
Mike, you can go ahead and start with your.
Let's start with the guards.
Okay,
because I feel like those are a little clearer.
I know we've tried to keep these from each other to make the debate about this a little bit organic on the pod. Mine, I'm stretching who's a forward and who. It's positionless NBA. It's 2020. So all right, so let me go.
I like that.
With that being said,
who are your guards?
I have Lillard and Devin Booker as my 2 guards.
All right. Okay. I have the same 2. So that clearly was not very hard.
Could it even
Luke
be a debate?
Does not. He's shaking his head.
No, I put Damian Lillard and James Harden as my guards.
It's hard for me to knock Harden, but
Harden played 30. He played 5 games. He played 36 minutes a game, scored 35 points on 54% shooting, 57 from 3, averaged 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block a game on top of the 35 points. So Harden all you want, but I think we talked about it before, a rested Harden is scary, and he's proven it. So
totally. And I'm just going to say this because Luke, we now have overlap. I'm counting James Harden as a small forward on my all bubble team.
Oh my God, he's not a small forward.
But teams play 6'5" small forwards.
To be honest with you, my all bubble team, I was looking at obviously points per game, impact in the game, also what they did for their team. The Rockets moved up in terms of positioning in the bubble, and like Luke was saying, we watched every game. I watched almost every Rockets game. They need him. It is just crazy how different the Rockets look when he's playing versus when it's only Russ on the floor or it's neither of them on the floor. I just felt like Harden was way too important and impactful in their winning. And the fact that they have a better playoff position now.
Yeah, and I mean, there is something to be said because he missed games and then Westbrook playing those games. And he also had games where Westbrook didn't play. And we'll talk about this a little bit when we talk about the first round matchups, but Westbrook's going to be out for a little bit. I just thought, yeah, obviously they moved up. They did what they had to do early, but then they kind of stagnated towards the end. They didn't really take over. I think they could have made a push for 3 that they didn't make, and maybe they didn't want it. Maybe they want to see the Lakers in the second round. I just think that they won their early games, and then they went cold. And as good as Harden was, and I'm not denying he was fantastic, and he showed he's well-rested, ready to go, and maybe some of these later games didn't matter as much. I know we're recording this before they play the Sixers tonight. But I still think that, looking at strictly guards, Damian Lillard willed this team into the 8th spot, not even just into the playoff picture and having that play-in game. I mean, obviously, I didn't include the stats from last night's game, which would only up these. But he's averaging 37 points, 4.5 rebounds, almost 10 assists on crazy shooting numbers. He's shooting almost 50% from the field, 41% from 3, and 89% from the line. And he pretty much guaranteed them the spot they're in right now. As well as, he did have a strong supporting cast, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I look at what Dame did, and then you look at what Booker did, and I'm shocked you left him off that list. He controlled the Suns' destiny. No, everyone counted them out, including us at the beginning of this. Like, we did not expect them to have a shot here. He was unbelievable.
I'm not knocking Devin Booker's game. I'm just saying, depending on whether or not you count Luka Doncic as a guard or a forward, that puts Devin Booker either as the 3rd best guard or the 4th best guard. So he's not making my first team. Maybe he makes my second team. And of course, like, Booker willed this team to be the Suns team to be better. But you have to remember there was a lot of great play from a lot of other players on that team. He was outstanding during the bubble as well. He was averaging like 15 and 11 or something like that.
But I don't think
CJ McCollum had a good bubble. CJ McCollum, as always, wasn't always there when the Blazers needed him. It wasn't like he was giving 30 a night, but Dame was always there. When CJ wasn't there, Dame was there. And you mentioned Damian Lillard shooting 41% from 3 on 12.5 shots per game, which is like, it's crazy.
That's
right?
insane.
Like, it's insane. And so, like, I'm very impressed by Booker, but he's not my first team. So
I'm disappointed, but I guess I get it because I understand James Harden's value. They went 8-0. They won games. Like, he was the best player on the hottest team in the bubble. Like,
but it's 8 games.
On the all bubble team. I don't understand it. But
8
whatever.
games. I'm stats right now. 8 games don't mean enough to me. Also, they won all 8 games. They won all 8 games. But let's look at what teams they played and whether or not they were playing their stars. I'm pretty sure they escaped a couple games by the skin of their hair against teams that were a little depleted.
Did you not see him drill a game winner over Paul George and Kawhi?
I did. I watched that game.
How are you not putting this guy on your team? Whatever. You know what? I don't even want to hear it.
Hey, if I throw up enough 3-point shots, one of them going to go down.
Let's switch to your forwards because I want none of this anymore.
My last hot Booker take would be, I think I wouldn't be shocked if he was an all-star starter next year.
100%.
I think he might be an all-star in the West too, which is crazy.
I think the Suns could build on this. Like, the fact that they went 8-0, they have a good coach in place, their team's playing well together. They come back next year, they have continuity. They could easily be a playoff team, and Booker could be an all-star.
Definitely.
I watched Booker play this whole time. You know when there's people who have the ball and you're just nervous when they have the ball? Devin Booker is not one of them. Devin Booker, he has the ball and you know he's going to – like LeBron. LeBron has control over everything, and Devin Booker feels that way to me. Kind of similar to Dame. But, all right, in the moving on to the power forwards, after Matthew got pretty heated about Booker.
Yeah. It's the best player in the game. No.
Positionless basketball. So, my other forward pick.
So you had Harden as your one forward. Who's your other forward?
Luka. as my other forward.
What is this? Is all you made an all-guard team? What?
I mean,
it makes no sense.
The top 4 players in the bubble were all guards according to game score.
I couldn't pick a forward. I couldn't do it.
But that's not what we agreed to. Obviously, if I could have picked all guards, I would have picked all guards.
The eye test guy. I'm not the stats guy.
Sweet hell, but they're like, all right, whatever. Well, Luke, who did you put? Because apparently we're just nothing matters anymore. We're just picking players whenever.
Small forward, I put Luka Doncic.
Yes.
So
he literally plays 1 or 2. Like he doesn't play forward.
He's listed as a forward and then a guard on NBA.com.
All right, whatever. So all right.
In the All-Star game, he played forward. And then my second forward was TJ Warren, who has been great. So
we align there. I also picked TJ Warren because for multiple reasons. Obviously, he had great scoring numbers. He kind of cooled off towards the end, but it was more what he did for the Pacers. Because honestly, without him, I think they would have gotten pummeled in the restart and probably would have fallen to 6, further below the Sixers, because they really didn't have much offense outside of him. And so then my other forward, who I actually had above TJ Warren, is Michael Porter Jr. from the Nuggets.
Ugh. No.
What are you talking about?
He was good, but there were better forwards. Paul George played better than him. Kawhi played better than him.
No, he balled out and he saved the Nuggets. He's the reason they're still the 3. I think they would have fallen. If you look,
I think he played well, but for my team, I watched a lot of those games. I don't think he was that stellar.
55% from the field, 42% from 3, 93% from the line.
How many shots per game though?
From which?
Just number of shots per game. 15.
Field goals
14.
attempted 14, and then 6.5 from 3.
Right.
So those are solid numbers. So the one knock I'll say is he only averaged 22 a game in these games, which that's nothing to scoff at by any stretch of the imagination. He also was pulling up. He was getting 9 rebounds a game out of your small forward. And I just think his movement off ball and his ability to create offense for this team kept them alive. They were able to leave him in with bench heavy rotations when you would take Jokic off the floor. They were without Jamal Murray for a large part of this. They could have lost a lot more than they did. And I think he not single-handedly, him and Jokic combined kept them in this more than they had any business staying at the number 3. I thought he was so dominant in the same way TJ Warren was. Maybe they didn't win all their games and they kept it, a little competitive. They won some games, lost others. If it wasn't for these two in Warren and Michael Porter Jr., they would have fallen off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so, unlike you guys, I picked traditional forwards.
Luka Doncic is a forward. He's a forward. He's listed as a forward.
It's suspect.
So is LeBron though. LeBron is a forward, but can play every position. So is Luka can really do that. It's crazy.
All right, fine.
I don't know if you can play Luka at center, but
I'll let that slide. And the reason he didn't make my team was 1, I had 2 other guards and I was leaving it that way. 2, Mavericks sucked in this restart. Sucked. They did not look good.
Yeah, but Luka played so well.
But here's the thing: we always talk about empty stats. Everyone shames Westbrook for empty stats. All these guys, it's he's doing well on a bad team, empty stats. No, if we're gonna hold everyone to that standard, we can't let Luka just get by. The Mavericks are losing and they're losing in all these close games.
I love Luka too much.
He averaged in this restart a 30-point triple-double, and obviously we're not counting last night's game because he only played 10 minutes. But why are you not winning games? If you're performing at this level with a pretty good team, the Mavericks aren't bad. They have a good supporting cast. Everyone else was playing. You have KP out a couple games, and Porzingis had a good restart too. I'll give him that. But why are you not winning? And that was the other knocking factor.
I think it's kind of a LeBron in his first 7 seasons in Cleveland syndrome.
They just don't have a team yet.
I can't prove it because I don't have the numbers when he's on the floor. But when Luka's playing, the Mavs look incredible. He had 19 assists the other day.
I'm not denying that he's incredible.
His impact to the team is very good. I think obviously the Mavericks will continue to look different season over season until they figure out how to really make a team around him and Porzingis. But I don't think that was enough for me to say that Luka wasn't an all-bubble guy, because he totally was.
It's fair.
100% was.
I get it. All right, so let's move on to our last spot on the team here.
All right, my center is technically a center sometimes. Giannis.
Yeah.
I think it's undeniable.
He's not a center.
He plays center, and it goes up to 40% during the playoffs, so I'm counting him as a center as well. He's my pick at center.
So I did not use him as my center because I don't consider him a center.
So you picked...
I consider him a power forward, or honestly, like small forward, power forward. I went in a very different direction. I went with Jusuf Nurkic, and I know that's weird. I know it's a little weird.
Porzingis was the obvious pick if you didn't pick Giannis.
My God, no. Porzingis sat out plenty of games. Nurkic didn't sit out. Nurkic fouled out in 2 of them, which that's a problem, and that was my one knock on him. But he played so well. He was basically shooting 50% from the field on 13 shots a game. And then you factor in 91% from the free throw line, 10 rebounds a game, 4 assists a game from a center is awesome. 1.5 steals, more than 2 blocks. He was coming back from a leg injury and rehabbing, and then being able to do that. And yeah, you're only scoring 17 points a game, but that's because you have other scorers on your team. You're doing exactly what you needed to do for your team. I thought he was so instrumental in getting them to where they were. And like, he had a 30-point game in there, and like, you sprinkle all this stuff in, he was great. Like, he did everything he was supposed to do. And you look at some of the other centers, you look at Embiid, Jokic, he put up better numbers than them and won more. Like, I think
Embiid and Jokic barely played.
Exactly.
Like, so Jokic was on minutes restrictions almost the whole time.
Another one I considered was DeAndre Ayton, who had another strong start. And so I think I was between, realistically, those two as putting my center, and I went with Nurk. I thought he had a pretty unbelievable restart. I'm excited to see what he does in the playing game and obviously the playoffs, when I think they're going to get through. But so you guys picked Giannis in what I think is just cheating the system, but fine.
He plays center. Like, they play him at center.
Fine. So then, all right, be that as it may, I'm frustrated with it.
Is Anthony Davis a center? Is Anthony Davis a center?
No, he's a power forward.
He
plays power forward. He won't play center. He doesn't let the Lakers play him at center.
He does. They play him at center. Just not a lot.
He reluctantly does it, and they're afraid to do it because they want him to re-sign. But anyway, who of your 5 is your MVP of the bubble?
Lillard, easy. Like, no doubt, Lillard.
I'm so torn. It's between Dame and Booker because, again, 8-0. But I thought yesterday was Booker's most important game of his career, and he showed up. And I think it was evident. But I think what Booker did with his back against the wall, these 3 straight games, 3 wins with insane numbers, I think Lillard is definitely the MVP of the bubble.
So I'm going with it's all bubble. It's the bubble MVP. So I'm ignoring the rest of the season, just these 8 games. A lot of people judge the regular season MVP by this metric. The best player on the best team in the bubble.
Devin Booker.
That is Devin Booker.
Hell yeah.
He's the best player on the best team in these 8 games. It's the bubble MVP. It's not the regular season MVP.
I'm so jacked up right now.
So it would be Devin Booker as the MVP.
Lillard all day, every day.
I'm so torn. I probably would go Lillard, but I love Booker. It's so close. The two of them are so good. I think the fact that the Blazers got in is what does it, which is unfortunate because 8-0 is 8-0. But I think it's Dame. That said, they're also awarding a coach of the restart. So most valuable coach, I think, without saying, that goes to Monty Williams from the Suns.
Yeah, I mean, best record. I don't like when you really think about the top teams with the best coaches and how he coordinated them. I guess you could say Pop because they were playing hard, but like if you think about the other good coaches like Mike Malone or Nick Nurse or people like that, they were resting guys, right? And that's part of coaching, managing your rotations and stuff like that. But
are we not going to say Terry Stotts? How could you not?
So I think his job is easier than Monty Williams's. I think it is very clear who you're going to have on the court when you have strong players at pretty much every position. Like, as good as he was, it's not like they did anything instrumentally different from what they normally do. I think what the Suns were able to pull off here shows something more to me. And they went 8-0.
So I'll be honest.
Coach took it 8-0.
I'll be honest. I was going with Terry Stotts this whole time until I saw the Monty Williams clip of him telling the team he loves them.
Oh my God. Yeah. I was like, sobbing.
That was emotional.
Yeah. So I'd probably go with Monty.
Yeah. But all right. So now that we've gotten our seeding games out of the way, before we part, we'll make this a short episode. Let's look at our first round matchups. Let's make some predictions. and we'll use this as a little bit of bragging rights. Whoever gets the highest amount right and the closest, we'll do
and the number of games
series. Yes, correct.
The number of games will be tiebreakers. So if we both pick like the Nuggets winning their series, it'll be like, well, they won in 6, and Mike said they were going to win in 6, so he gets the plus advantage.
I like it. So let's start with the East because this feels a little clearer to me, and then we'll do the West because I think there's a little more variability there.
Okay.
First matchup, let's go with the Bucks. The Bucks against the Magic. Who do you got, Luke? We'll start with you.
I'm going to go with Bucks in 4. Like, I think Giannis is just going to come. Who are you guys, and what are you doing? And you should get lost. No Jonathan Isaac, no Aaron Gordon. Who's gonna stop Giannis and who's gonna stop Middleton? And I don't think they really have those answers. So
yeah,
going with Bucks in 4.
I have Bucks in a sweep.
I'm gonna do Bucks in 5. I'm giving the Magic a little more credit here because I think we were giving them more credit earlier, and obviously they had some injuries that were definitely setbacks. I think that they'll take one game. Just they do have enough on their team that I think the Bucks have an off night. They steal one. There's no home court advantage anywhere. They're kind of technically the home team.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have faith that the Magic will win one, and honestly, faith is a stretch. Like very loose faith in them. But all right, let's look at Raptors versus Nets. Who wants to go first here?
I'm gonna say Raptors in 5.
Huh. Okay.
I think Karis LeVert comes out. Yeah, I think Karis LeVert comes out one night and is just like, we're winning this one.
I am pretty confidently here saying Raptors in 4. Yeah. I think when they need to turn it on, they can. If you look at what they did against some of these teams, what they did against the Lakers in particular, like their first game in this restart, they came out hungry, energetic. They absolutely went and attacked these star players. And I think they're going to take LeVert out of the game. I think they have the perfect the roster structure to be able to tackle this Nets team, force them to use their bench. I think it's no-brainer Raptors in 4.
Yeah, I have the Raptors sweeping as well. The Raptors are my closet team to make it to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So, 2 sweeps,
100%.
Though. Interesting right off the bat. But all right, so in the third matchup is Celtics against the Sixers. So a little tougher here. Luke, who do you got? Because I know you're an Embiid fan.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to root for Embiid going off, especially against Theis. But I don't know if the Sixers will have enough to advance past the first round. So I'm going to go with Celtics in 6.
I am going to go with Celtics in 6 as well for the same reasons. I think there is a chance I'm wrong. Like, I think that realistically, this could go the wrong way for me. But I do. I think the Celtics have looked good. And what they did to the Raptors the other night, it just shows they're starting to peak. And they're another one. If they turn it on with a poor perimeter defensive team, I feel like, in the Sixers, they're like, and with a lack of depth, that sort of thing, I think it's going to be Celtics in 6.
I have the C's in 5. I think the Celtics are going to win in 5 games. I think that the synergies of their best players is happening, and I think they look really good. And I'm also team chaos, that the Sixers almost get swept in the first round, and they're like, we need to restructure. A Sixers big movement in the offseason would make me happy as a consumer of entertainment.
We'll see.
I say they trade Ben Simmons to Phoenix, and they have a Kendall Jenner love competition between Simmons and Booker.
I love it. All right, so now the last matchup in the East, and probably the most heated, Heat versus Pacers.
It's happening. They're playing right now. Their benches are playing right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, hardly.
It's important to note that Derrick Jones Jr. is currently being stretchered off the floor after getting hit on a hard pick. So,
no. All right. Well, Gary, hope he's all right.
Who's the Pacers are the 5? Do we know if they're going to get Sabonis back?
They are not going to get Sabonis back. It doesn't seem like now.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Heat in 6.
Heat in 5.
I am going Heat in 4.
You have a sweep Heat.
I think they sweep. I think they are just much better. I think the Pacers have holes, and if they can shut down TJ Warren from producing on offense, it seems like Oladipo and Brogdon aren't going to be able to pick up that slack. they don't really have a true dominant scorer right now without Warren. So you shut him down. You shut down the Pacers. Sweep. I think the Heat sweep.
And the Heat have the two best players on the court in this series, I think, in Bam and Jimmy. And let us not forget, playoff Jimmy Buckets is out of control. He was so good last year.
Exactly.
He was so good.
That's why I think I don't think it's particularly close.
Heat in 5.
Heat in 5.
Heat in 6.
Right.
I think we underestimate Oladipo and Brogdon. Like Brogdon started off really hot this year, and I think he could make something happen. And the Jimmy Butler TJ Warren beef is definitely a thing, but I think if TJ Warren continues to stay in his rhythm, I think he can still put up some numbers on Jimmy Butler. So
definitely. But all right, let's switch gears now and look at the West, because I think that this one is a little more wide open. I'm going to start with the Lakers series, even though it's kind of a TBD on who they're going to play. We're imagining it's Portland based on our discussion earlier. The Lakers against Portland, what do you have? Luke?
I'm going with Lakers in 6.
Fair.
I think the Lakers will win, but it'll be a shock to their system to have to really fight out of this first round. So
I have Lakers in 6 too, and I think it's going to be the coverage from this series is going to be, are the Lakers not that good? Are they not going to make it the rest of the way? Because it's going to be a tough series, I think.
I think it's going 7. I think the Lakers win in 7. I just think the Lakers suck. They stink on the perimeter, and like obviously they're going to be able to dominate inside with LeBron and Anthony Davis, but on the perimeter with Dame and CJ, it's going to be hard to stop them. They have no one to stop them. At least at least Portland can put someone in front of LeBron and Anthony Davis. Like obviously they're not
Melo.
Yeah, hell yeah, Melo. You never know. Like,
Melo's going to get absolutely trashed by LeBron.
No, wrong.
They need Kuzma to step up in a big way. And I think that'll be a differentiator if you can rely on him as a third option.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah.
But all right.
Also important to note they get.
Yes.
Yeah. But all right, let's move on. Clippers, Mavs. Who we got?
Clippers in 5.
I agree. I think Clippers in 5. I think the Mavericks have shown that they can't close out games. Even if they keep it close, the Clippers will be able to shut them down.
I've got Clippers in 6. I think this is going to be a tough series again. I mean, Luka Doncic is the future LeBron star of the league, and Kristaps is averaging like just under 30 a night.
And losing and fouling out and being a bad person.
Yeah, but
missing coronavirus tests.
Kawhi and Paul George, when they played in the 8 seeding games, were they were out there and they were playing, but the playoffs are different.
Yeah,
Kawhi knows that. Paul George knows that. And I expect big things from them. So
I agree. All right. Now we got Nuggets versus Jazz. Luke?
Nuggets. These are easy Nuggets. I mean, like
Nuggets in 4.
I want to go Nuggets in 5 just because I'm not so confident in them actually playing well all the time. But the Nuggets will win this series just because the Jazz aren't.
I have the Nuggets in 6 because they played each other in the seeding games and it went to double overtime. Both teams were full strength. It was an awesome game. But I think when push comes to shove, the special nature of Jokic is going to shine through. Like, they have the best guy on the court, and I think he really changes the game. So I think the Nuggets in 6.
All right. Last, and certainly not least, because this is probably the most exciting based on storyline from last season into this season, the Rockets versus the Thunder. We have the Westbrook-Chris Paul showdown, kind of going back to their old market. Who do we like here? And I'll note, Westbrook is going to be out at least for the beginning of this series. Who do you think wins? How many games?
Go, Mike.
Rockets in 6. The reason I say this is Russ is out for the first.
I don't know how many games they haven't said.
Yeah. So they won't have Russ, and he's impactful, but I still think Harden will get through the first round and beat the Thunder.
Luke?
I want to go Rockets in 7. I think Chris Paul is going to come out inspired. Chris Paul during the regular season was the best fourth quarter player in the league. You remember it's like Steven Adams getting on a small ball Rockets team. Like, you don't know what that's going to look like. So, and of course SGA is out there, and so I can see the Thunder making a good push, but not winning.
I agree. It goes 7 games, and I think the Thunder start winning some of the earlier games. I think the Rockets will win game 1, Thunder rattle off 2, and then from there it's going to be pretty much all Rockets. The Thunder will steal 1, but it's definitely going to go 7 because I think when Westbrook comes back and the Rockets get closer to full strength, it's probably going to go their way. I think with their shooting and just the way they match up, they'll probably get bodied in the post by Steven Adams. But they have Eric Gordon back. They're going to be able to go run. And then push comes to shove, and they have to. Like, you can throw in Tyson Chandler. Not that you really would. But if you have to stop Steven Adams, if that's, like, the one thing you need to do, you're going to be able to accommodate slightly. So I think 7 games is fair, but I think the Rockets pull through.
Also, if the Lakers somehow lose in the first round, my chaos team is the Rockets. So I'm behind the Rockets, rooting for them if the Lakers lose.
I think it's going to be Clippers. I like the past couple episodes on the podcast, I've been like, yo, Lakers in 4, but it's not going to be Lakers in 4 now. It makes me upset. Yeah, it doesn't look good for Lakers in 4.
No, but it'll be interesting. But we'll start off. Their first test is going to be the play-in tournament tomorrow. So I know we're all eagerly awaiting that. And I guess, for our listeners, our loyal fans, our plan is obviously we'll release this. We'll see what happens with that. And then I guess you'll hear from us as the first round comes to a close. There's going to be a lot that happens there. Teams sent home. The lottery happens next week. So obviously I'm all sorts of jacked up because the Knicks are going to land the first pick and our future is bright, just like the Suns.
That's a funny way of saying 9.
Exactly. It's going to be an interesting Thursday for me. Going to have a lot of beers regardless. But all right. So for everyone tuning in, I hope you've enjoyed the bubble so far, the seeding games. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Hoop True podcast, and I hope you join us again next time.